All right, if everybody could take their seats, please. It is my distinguished pleasure to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Meeks.
This thing we do, write books, craft stories, build worlds, is remarkable. Authors, does that mean that we are superior, smarter, better looking than the population at large? Yes, it does. And you, the 1,000 authors that are here in the desert at 20 books to 50K, and especially here today that got up at 8 in the morning, you're at the cool table. Thank you. And that was the coolest of you. In this age of like, love, meme, hashtag, share, follow, 24-hour social media, dopamine hit, people need a break. And we provide that break. Thank you for coming out this morning to hear me talk about the art of copywriting. And there's that cool kid again that keeps wooing. That's how you make friends in this business. The interesting thing about trying to sell books is that we're giving people an escape, whether they want to learn, whether they want to go to one of our worlds. They're interested in 2 uninterrupted hours of just glorious reading. And when they go to that description for your book, that 500-word block text synopsis, plot point ruining debacle, they can't be bothered to read it. In doing this, I've been studying copywriting now for a bit, and I've learned that the hook is the key, and people don't do that. We're going to talk about that. I may or may not follow the deck up there, but hopefully by the end of the day, you'll understand why descriptions are as important as the cover and the quality of your book, because the cover, in most cases, with pay-per-click advertising or people doing searches, the advertising copy plays some part, but for the most part, it's the cover. Oh, it's a nice cover. They go and check it out. But when they get to that description, if they see a giant block of text, because Facebook has destroyed our attention spans. How many of you see a post, your best friend for 23 years has just had a baby, and it's 22 lines in a single massive Homer-esque block of text? Do you read it? Anybody? One good friend out there, the rest of you can't be bothered, and the reading public is the same way. Facebook has destroyed our attention spans. You have maybe 3 nanoseconds to grab their attention, and that's why the hook's so important. Short is sweet. Long descriptions just don't convert. I don't know if any of you have heard, I enjoy data. One of my favorite words is the M word, math. And I've studied this. I keep all my data. I've had 100 million impressions, 600,000 clicks. I have the data. I've written maybe 500 descriptions. I've looked at other authors' data. And the realities are that if you don't have these hooks, the description is going to convert at 1 in 30, 1 in 35. My descriptions, and I'll show you a couple later, convert at 1 in 8 to 1 in 10. And you can be a complete math phobe and still, if I ask you, would you rather pay for 30 clicks or 8? Everybody's going to get that quiz question right. And so today we're going to try to get you to the point where you understand the importance of copywriting. Sugarman. I got my toes dipped into copywriting because of a book, Joseph Sugarman. I'd finished a book, put it into KDP, filled out my ISBN, had it done. The cover was lovely. The book was edited, it was uploaded. There was one remaining box that had not been filled in, the description. I'll do that tomorrow. I didn't do it tomorrow. Every day for 60 days, I put off launching my book. And I don't do great launches. Of the 1,000 people here, I'm the worst at it. And some of you haven't launched a book. So keep that into perspective. You'll never come to 20Books and see how to launch a book by Brian Meeks, because spending 60 days not hitting publish isn't the way you do it. And when I did hit publish, I was so pleased. It was a relief, this burden, this horrible thing that had been weighing me down for 2 months was gone. And then my little voice said, "You're pathetic." And the description I wrote was horrible. It was like just a tiny little block of text that said, yeah, it's a book, something to that effect. So there's a podcast called the Self-Publishing Podcast. Sean Platt, his background before he decided to become an author was he was a world-class copywriter, and he's a friend. So I reached out to Sean. I sent him an email. A few minutes later, I said, "Sean, this is what I just did. I'm disgusted with myself. Can you recommend a book? Help me out." And he sent back and he said, "There's a book by Joseph Sugarman that is fantastic. It's called Adweek, and if you only buy one book this year, buy Mastering Amazon Descriptions by Brian Meeks." In Adweek, Sugarman says the only job of the first line is to get them to read the second line. That's the only job. If your first line doesn't do that, you've got a horrible description. The second line is to get them to the third line. And the third line gets them to your first real paragraph. And that's where we start to hint at what might be in the book. We do not then start telling me, or telling the potential reader, all the things that are in the book, because that's just a synopsis, and often it ruins the whole point. Well, that was a lovely description. Thank you for giving me no reason to read further. You told me everything. And so I read that, and I started to draw connections. My attention span has been destroyed. I'm an avid chess player, and I noticed in December of 2016 that I was unable to play long chess. I was playing blitz, but longer games, 30-minute time controls. It was on the screen, and I would check Facebook, and my rating dropped. I wasn't doing as well. My focus had been shattered, and I realized it was because of the whole dopamine, like. And I started to think about how I could change that. So I began testing copywriting, and I'd read the Sugarman book a year earlier. When I changed my descriptions, I went from 1 in 30 to 1 in 10 to 12 on the conversion rate. And I've since 2016 thought a lot more about it, gotten better at my descriptions, and now 1 in 8 to 1 in 10. And that may not seem like a big difference, but that's huge, paying for 12 versus 8 over 600,000 clicks. That's a massive amount of additional revenue. And so I started thinking about what's going on. And we all know taglines. We're all familiar with good copy. How many of you hate writing your description? And when I say hate, it's like worse than Jell-O with fruit in it. Yeah, she knows. The thing is that what you don't understand, the secret is all of you have been exposed to brilliant copywriting since birth. Radio, TV, magazines. You're hit all the time with slogans, hooks, Nike, just do it. You know what it is. You just don't know you know what it is. And part of the goal is to get you to just start looking for it. If you keep your ears and your eyes open, because copywriting isn't just about the written word. It's about the formatting. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to run through a couple descriptions, and I'll get to that later. But I want to tell you a story. The great thing about this conference, this third year, it's so nice. Each year it gets bigger. And when you come back and you haven't been here before, the second time is better than the last time, because when you show up, oh, my friends, and there's hugs, and it's just fantastic. Well, I was hanging out yesterday and chatting with a couple friends of mine, and Aaron and his wife Laura. We'd gone to Bali 20Books before, been on a little adventure that I wrote about when I got deported to South Korea, and we were just talking. And they're a wonderful couple. They may be the best married couple. They're delightful. I love them in every way. And we were talking, and Aaron said, yeah, Laura and I have discussed it, and we've decided we don't want children. I was like, wow, that's a big decision. Because in this business, if you've got a partner and you make life decisions, wow, that's a big decision. And Laura said, yeah, when we get home from the conference, we're going to tell our daughters. And there she is, so excited that they will be cast out. That's not true. I met their daughters. They're delightful. But that's good copywriting. And I admittedly, that's from a meme. I crafted that story to try to get a laugh out of you. But when I saw the meme, and I saw that, my wife and I decided we don't want children. We're going to tell our kids tonight. It's like, that's good copywriting. I live on the Strip. There's a billboard across the street, and it says, in quotes, trust me, you can sing. Signed, alcohol. That's Above Lee's Discount Liquor. Some of you might know that. The point is, if I've convinced some of you that it's worthwhile looking into learning copywriting, you need to watch your data. Let's just look at this slide. You know what? I'm not really paying attention. I'm not listening when I talk. So if you come up and say questions, you remember when you said that thing? No. I just go on autopilot. If you change your description, two things. It will either improve or not. I mean, that's the reality, especially when you're new to this. It can be hard, and you can try things out, and it can improve or not. Here's the important thing, that most of you don't like math, and you will make a change, like a price change. For instance, I wrote a post in 20Books to 50K a year and a half ago. Within 30 days or so, 24 people came to me and said, Brian, I tried your price change. Raised it to $4.99. Didn't work. But I love the post. I still like what you do. Thanks. And I said, he's one of them. and I said, do you mind if we take a look at your data? Because people know some people enjoy heroin. I like data. and they always said, sure, I'd love you to take a look at my data. So we'd get on Skype. We'd open up the data. I would get out Excel. I'd start to do magic. My hands would glow. And I found out that every single one of those 24 people was, in fact, wrong. And that's important, because in our school system, we're not trained how to do analysis. And if you change a description, and the next day, and say on the day before you had 5 sales, and on the next day you have 4, oh my God, the humanity. It failed. I'm a terrible person. No, that's not statistically significant data. Because, and I always tell people, oh, well, let's look at your data. Oh, you had 5, you changed the description, then you had 4. What about on Wednesday of last week when you had 1? What happened there? It was the same description. That's called variance. And you want to think about these things, and if you don't understand how to do the math, I am delightfully friendly. Just reach out to me on Facebook, and we'll do the math together. But you need to do the math to understand Have you made a difference? Have you made it better so that you can sell more books? That's important. How do you tell the difference? I don't know that today, because I've got less time than originally I thought on this thing, so I'm not going to go too much into the data analysis, because frankly, when I give these presentations, and I do, there's tears. And so I'm trying to avoid that. Do we have anything else good on this slide? What does it say? Before you start analyzing, take a look at yourself. Yes. Well, actually, you know what? That last bit is important, because most of us are either a pessimist or an optimist. And just understanding, if you know who you are, and when you look at, for the next 30 days, you change your description, understand that if you're a pessimist, you're going to try to figure out why it failed, because you're always looking for why you screwed up, for why it failed, and try to understand that. If you're an optimist, conversely, you can make the same mistake, write a new description that isn't better, and just be looking for rainbows and puppy dogs. And so that's bad too. Okay, let's see, what do we got next there? 30 days, try to look for 1,000 paid clicks. That's a statistically significant amount of data. 50 clicks, you can have a description that converts at 1 in 30, and over the previous 50 clicks had 1 to 2 conversions, and a conversion is a new reader. It's not a sale. In this day and age, where 70% of our new readers are in Kindle Unlimited, for those of you who are exclusive, sales almost don't matter. But all of you just watch your sales numbers, and then you panic when you don't see sales. But you know what? You had 50 clicks. You didn't get any sales. But what if you got 3, 4 new Kindle readers? That's where your readers are coming from, so you can't do the analysis with half the data. Does that make sense? Good. Clicks divided by sales plus KU downloads. KU downloads, we don't have the data to know how many people downloaded our book, but we do have the page reads. Over 30 days, if you have this many page reads, which is a mathematical term, here, and you know that your KENPC number, which is the Kindle edition normalized page count, is 300, and you divide this by 300, and it says 27.6. This is important. You round up to 28 because you can't have 0.6 of a person downloading your book. At least 28 people were needed to read this many pages in 30 days. It could have been 60 people reading half the book. That's important to understand. But we will never know. Well, I don't know if Amazon plans to tell us how many KU downloads we have. It would be delightful. Not that I'm hinting. That's not what's going on here. We're not trying to bully Amazon into giving us a little more data that we would dearly appreciate. But for now, we don't have the data to do the proper analysis to try to improve our book descriptions so that we can make money and make Amazon more money. So until we have that number where they tell us 62 people downloaded your book, we have to get the least possible number of people that downloaded it. You add that to sales, 62 plus say 27 sales, and then you put your clicks, you divide that, and you have your conversion ratio. You want to look at the 30 days before you change your description, and then the 30 days after, and you'll see if you made it better or not. If the data is muddied, and this happens because we have promotions, we do swaps. If the data is muddied, that happens. If in the 30 days before you change your description, you had a book bub and crushed it, that muddies the data. So go to 3 days before the book bub and take that 30-day sample. That's where you get your good data. And if it's muddied after you change the thing because you changed it right before a book bub and you wanted to optimize so that you get the most valuable promotion, other than the data's muddied, then maybe you call me and we work it out. But what do we got next? Anything else? This description. This could best be described as a war crime. Not only was the cover self-designed, an homage to a 30s era Italian Art Deco artist, because this book actually takes place in the 50s. At no point did anybody ever get my homage to this obscure Italian designer. And as such, my pretty cover that I so very much like just isn't that good. This is the original description for the print version, which I have not taken down because I don't care if I sell a few extra copies of the print book. I like having it there for gatherings of my closest friends. So, let's take a look. Henry Wood is a private detective in 1955. It is January, a new year, and before he can recover from, I can't actually read it, from celebrating, can you all read it? It's an abomination. I don't even like hearing the words out. But that was my description. I didn't know any better. It's a giant block of text. That was converting at about 1 in 30 to 35 on, I don't know how many tens of thousands of clicks I had, but I had good data on it. After reading Sugarman's book and talking to Sean Platt, let's change it. I changed my description, got it down to 1 in 10 and 1 to 12. Now, in a moment, I'm going to go back to, there have been, in my description writing for my own books, there have been sort of 3 eras. Pre-copywriting, post-copywriting, and then last year where I realized, and this is an important thing to think about. If some of you get excited and you decide to start learning copywriting, and you write a new description, and this gentleman in the back in the blue shirt raises his hand, and it improves your copywriting, in 6 months, if you continue to practice, you're going to be better at copywriting, and you'll need to revisit and redo your description because you can move the needle a little further. And so I'm going to come over here and actually read this one because this is better copywriting. Oh, and I'm going to get my glasses so that it's not a fuzzy blob. Arthur Byrne is a lot of things. Bitter, ambivalent, angst-ridden, snarky, and more than anything, he's a writer who can't write anymore. So naturally, he became a professor. A life in academia has allowed Arthur to hone his drinking skills, spend time with age-inappropriate teaching assistants, and avoid the demons that silenced his Underwood many years ago. For those kids out there, Underwood's a typewriter. For those kids out there, a typewriter is a thing that we used to use. He might describe himself as an anti-hero if he weren't so against the term. Underwood Scotch and Rye is a satirical look at social media and modern technology through the eyes of a Luddite college professor whose days at Beckerston College are numbered. The dean wants him gone. The president wants him gone. Arthur wants to be left alone. Can a group of teaching assistants led by Wen Hu, a 28-year-old suffering from unbridled optimism, save Arthur from dismissal and himself, pick up this page-turner today? What do you think? At any point in there, did I talk about what's in the book? Nope. There's nothing in there about what's in the book. It's not a synopsis. I'm not out there giving plot points and ruining, and that's a problem for us authors because I'm not a parent. I don't know anything about children. These are my children. I understand they need to be fed and clothed. I have no idea. Do they clean their own cages? No idea. These are my children. And we love them. And we're so excited, especially that first book. We want to tell people, oh, I did all these clever things. It's so wonderful. We want to put it in there. Don't do it. Copywriting is not prose. Copywriting is short. It's beats. It's getting people from the beginning to the end. I have seen brilliant prose in descriptions, and that's bad copywriting. Don't do that. What do we got next? Okay. This one I don't really need to read because I've pretty well got it down. Look how many words I got there above the fold. Again, for you young people, we used to have these things called newspapers. And above the fold was important. You wanted your ad above the fold. 13 words. Henry knew one thing, ... I've been known to misuse the ellipse. I'm fine with that. Henry knew one thing, ... Is anybody that gets to this going to stop reading at ... No, they have to go to the next line. Dames were trouble. Okay, I've used 7 words. They've seen the cover. Better cover, right, than my homage. This wasn't done by me. This was done by a real artist. And the word dames hasn't been used in 70 years. So in that, I've established this is not a contemporary mystery. So I've gotten some information in there. And, dames were trouble. Well, why are they trouble? That's a little bit of a hook right there. It's an implied question, if you will. Henry knew one thing, dames were trouble. Would this client be the exception? Ooh, questions are good because nobody likes to leave a question hanging. Okay, now I can't read it. Henry knew one thing, dames were trouble. Would this client be the exception? She walked in, sat down, crossed her legs, and asked for a light. Boy, could she cross a leg. Before the woman had told him why she needed a detective, Henry wondered if she was playing him. It was something about her. The red lips and smoldering eyes were just a little too perfect. She knew how to get her way. And the dress, ... She wore a Dior dress that would make an hourglass self-conscious. Was it the Damsel in Distress act? This was the second one he'd seen this week. Something wasn't adding up. 1955 was going to be an interesting year. You'll love this noir mystery with a twist because everyone loves a broken detective trying to do what's right. Get it now. Again, that converts at 1 in 8. Don't talk about the story at all. But I do a lot of things in there. I establish the tone of the writing. If you've read Pulp Fiction from the 50s, she wore a Dior dress that would make an hourglass self-conscious. I'm not going to say Dashiell Hammett-esque because I'm not as good as him, but it's a bell that's ringing that people that are looking for that's good. I didn't have to say, if you like Dashiell Hammett, I just put something in there. That's powerful. This was the second one he'd seen this week. What's that about? Who was the first one? We get to the end, and 1 out of 8 people need to find out what goes on in this story. That's proper copywriting. Does that make sense? Can you see the difference between this and the mess that you have? Okay. What else do we have? Is that the last slide? Good, because I like to just ramble. Let's see where we're at on. Oh, we're doing fine. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and it's hard to learn this skill. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not natural. Again, all of you have been exposed to great copywriting throughout your lives, but you haven't been thinking about it. In January of 2017, when people were showing an interest in Amazon ads on the 20Books group, there was around 23,700, I think, in January of 2017. People started asking questions. I knew the answers. So I was writing posts to address the questions that I would see most often. And in the group of 23,000, I would get 50 likes or loves and 12 comments or so. And I mention this because I assume everyone's on Facebook, but how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, I was right. You're all on Facebook. Facebook is the greatest place to test out copywriting because you get instant feedback. Have any of you read my post on 20 books? There you go. When I started in 2017, I was doing this, and then I got the idea that I wonder if I can improve my data. And now I typically write a post, and on Facebook, this is Homer-esque in length, 450 words to, I think my longest is around 1,500. 1,500 words on a Facebook post. And I typically get between 500 and 750 likes and loves. My best is 1,600, 200 to 300 comments. My best is 588 on a post that Craig turned off after 5 hours. That's proper copywriting. You all are on Facebook. What I want you to do is I want you to practice your copywriting when you're putting up posts. If you're going to tell somebody about you bought a new car and you're excited, don't just write a block of text. Say, I did something today I've never done before, ... My entire life, I've wanted to buy a new car off the lot, pay for it myself without my parents' help. And today, this new, beautiful Toyota, who I've lovingly named Sasha, is mine. Okay, that's maybe 3 or 4 lines. What I want to point out is you'll notice all the blank lines in my copy. That is 50% of the power of copywriting. And so I've been talking about the words. I want to impress upon you that when you're practicing copywriting on Facebook or sending me a message in Messenger, if you hold down Shift and hit Enter twice, you can put in a blank line. And it's vastly easier for me to read 5 questions separated by blank lines than 1.5 feet of a single paragraph in tall, thin stuff. So for the sake of humanity, start putting in the blank lines because it matters. And you've been on Facebook. You see how often people interact with your posts. Try this. This is how you'll get good at copywriting. I have used copywriting in all of my non-prose writing for almost a year and a half now. Once I started those tests on the 20-book site, I just kept doing it. And I want you to think about, I'm here to sell you Mastering Amazon Descriptions, an author's guide by Brian D. Meeks. But I'm also here, copywriting isn't so that you can improve your description. It's so you can improve your business because you know what? We also send emails to readers. What if you used hooks in your emails? What if they didn't have giant blocks of text? First new reader comes along, they're part of your autoresponder campaign, they open it up, it's short, 150, 200 words, there's a laugh line in there, and they're going to think, wow, she's really quite delightful. I think I'll open her next email. It will improve your conversion, whether it's getting them to like your emails and open them, or take action at the end. There's so much value in this, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so when you go home today or tonight and you're putting a post on Facebook, I want you to put in the blank lines because it's how you're going to learn if you're improving and because I will be silently judging you. So what I want, see, they have a little clock here for me, which is so nice. And this is very helpful. So what I want to say in conclusion, I hope all this has made sense. I'm very approachable. I'm friendly. I like hugs. If you send me things on Facebook and include a guinea pig picture, you get special treatment. In the back of Mastering Amazon Descriptions, an author's guide by Brian Meeks, at the end, I kind of say, you know what, I really don't want to get in the business of writing descriptions. But if you're on the ledge and your life is at risk and you need a description, hunt me down and you can pay me to write you one. And that's how I felt when I launched the book earlier this year. And about 8 people a month would reach out to me and say, yes, I'm on death's door, write me a description. And I would do it. And it turns out I really like it. And so September 30th of this year, in my 2 groups, the Mastering Amazon Ads group and the Mastering Amazon Descriptions group, which you're all welcome to join, I put up 2 posts and I said, you know what, I've decided I kind of like writing descriptions. And if you'd like me to write a description, $120, I'll write your description. It's a pretty painless process. 50% of the time, I just need the link to the description, the horrible mess that you have, and then I've got just only a couple minutes left, and I just want to say I can look at that and then go through the reviews. And so if you're doing this yourself, which I also encourage, there are a lot of great nuggets in your reviews. If you see 3 people mentioned, oh, and I loved, then that is probably a thing that could be a good hook. And so that's where I look for the hooks and the ideas. And sometimes, though, maybe it's a genre I'm not familiar with, in which case we'll get on Skype or something and I'll have questions, and that's how I write the description. So I didn't do questions today, but I will make myself available. You may come by and say hello. And if you're interested in having me write a description, I will continue adding to the list. Right now at 6 deep. I tend to do 2 or 3 a day. And so if 50 of you sign up, the last person, it may be a little while, but I will do my best to get you the descriptions. And thank you so much for those of you, after an evening that might have included alcohol, getting up at this hour to come see me. I appreciate it.